Man, I'm struggling to bring up the or load the Virbela campus. It's just going painfully slow. Yeah, I'm gonna close this out. It's too much data or whatever. Hi, Peter.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Just a heads up, I'm actually in the process of prepping dinner here, so I'm just kind of be a silent partner for the meeting today.
Yeah.
So.
No worries, Peter. Thanks for joining us. By the way, we're a little sketchy on Campbell or Mark have not joined us as yet, so there may have been some miscommunication. So we're in a wait and see kind of mode. Brian's in their virtual campus, but they don't seem to be in there either. So we'll play it by ear.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Also, is this a Virbela app mobile friendly, or is it only for desktops?
It is mobile friendly.
Oh, cool. Let me take a look at it real quick. Alrighty, I'm gonna go back to flipping some stuff on the stove here, and I'll pipe up if anything comes up.
Thanks, Peter.
I noticed Jeff from my peer from JGC joined. So hey, Jeff.
Hi, I'm driving. I'm taking my daughter to cheer camp, and so I will be listening, but I will be I'll keep myself muted so you don't get extra noise and stuff from us. But thank you for inviting me back.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
Jeff, I just chatted this to you too. Unfortunately, we might have a little challenge with our guest speaker today, on some confusion, so we're trying to scramble here and find what happened. So stay tuned.
All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be part of it. So anything that works will be good for me, I'm sure.
Pat, to vamp while we're waiting, I can share some things with Jeff, but would be good for the group to hear. Last month, Jeff, when we met, we talked about VR, and one of the things we talked about is what we were doing at JJC with VR, but also the challenges of having VR be inclusive. And if you have different disabilities, how can it be adapted? Where done well, I think VR could be more inclusive than the real world, but I think we have some lessons learned. And I mentioned certainly that's something that you and your team have been open-minded about at JJC. And as we get lessons learned, or if we need volunteers to help, we definitely have some willing people, in ITKAN. And I've mentioned that I would love to try to see, options to try to get some Oculus devices, and especially if it equals getting some feedback for us to help us make our VR experiences more inclusive, that we would certainly embrace that.
Yeah, very much agree. That's a great point, and good to know. We definitely have some hurdles right now with getting, I don't want to say first steps, because we're past first steps, but it's like we've gotten past the first two steps, and all of a sudden the steps have just gotten much larger now. So our ability to continue to progress is being hindered. This morning I mentioned that with Meta not offering an enterprise solution, and them being so very account, you know, they're looking for individual accounts, Facebook accounts that they can use. It's making it a challenge on the college just to be able to offer it as a service, period. We're just struggling with being able to get these accounts set up in a way that we're confident. We just got dropped yesterday again. We had to get in, and we had one working set. We got up to 3, and then all of a sudden we're thinking it's because of facial recognition that Facebook recognized that we were trying to do multiple accounts. They required a photo, and the same photo for the first one was used for the third one, and then they locked up all of the accounts. So now we're behind where we were even yesterday on this. It's been really challenging to figure out how to proceed.
Yeah, you know, for the group to share some kind of details beyond that, one of the challenges in IT, and we experienced this as IT leaders back in the days when iPads and Apple was first on the scene, that products often geared towards individuals require that the account gets set up as an individual. They want to charge you, you know, to your individual account. And it's great if you're an individual consumer that you want to join the VR world through Meta. But as an organization, we want to centralize our costs and our policies and not have people charge things individually on behalf of the college. But when products come from the consumer space, whether it's Meta and Facebook or Apple, it's challenging for IT leaders to get the governance around that. And that's one of the struggles we're having of, if it was just me doing the Oculus and the VR and joining the Meta VR space, it's straightforward. But when we're trying to add our governance as an institution, we're having a hard time struggling. Again, Jeff, it reminds me a lot of the early days with Apple and how you get to have an iTunes account and share your music. And you're like, okay, we're trying to run an IT group here and a business, and we shouldn't be sharing out music. But sometimes these products which come from the consumer space don't roll up well to the enterprise level.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, one of the solutions that we're trying to offer is students need a place to relax, meditate, wind down, you know, and so we're working with the mental health professionals at the college to try to create virtual environments where students can go in and put on a headset and go to a meditation type app, a relaxation app, and be able to sort of give themselves a chance to check out. And you know, if we don't have this enterprise solution, and even if we said, okay, fine, there's 2 mental health professionals at the college, we'll tie, you know, one Oculus to each of those professionals. If either one of them leaves, it completely, we don't have it. Then we are locked out. Then we don't have access to our own equipment. And so this was really proven to be quite the challenge. And actually, Facebook had an enterprise solution, just to be clear, up until they announced the transformation into Meta, at which point then they dropped the enterprise solution and said it was coming. It just hasn't yet come.
So just out of curiosity, then, does that platform have any support for, you know, the kind of staples like SAML, OAuth, that kind of stuff, SSO, or is it pretty much like exclusive and like you have a Meta account and like that's it?
Yeah, right now that seems to be the case. Yeah.
Great question, Peter, though. That's exactly indicative of the challenge, right? Because that is very much what, from an enterprise, we'd like to have single sign-on and security governance and one central account. And it's, nope, you have to have a Meta account, which we typically discourage our employees to go out and use their Facebook account to do things, right? And now we have to be like, oh, except for doing this, right? So.
So group, I don't see Brian back on yet, but I'm sure he'll rejoin. I did just email Campbell Delisco from Virbela, noting that if there was some confusion as to the timing or, so pardon me, Brian just wrote in the chat, I'm talking to his sales guy, but not getting anywhere. Have I heard anything? So I have a feeling, group, and as bad as I feel about this, I think since tonight is going to be oh, there's Campbell. Hi, Campbell, you're on mute.
Thank you. Hey, Pat. Thanks for having me, and yeah, apologies for my tardiness. I think Brian jumped in the world, and then I had my colleague pinging me in world, and apologies, I didn't have it on my calendar.
No worries, Campbell. I think between a lot of the logistical challenges as we were communicating with you, I think the confusion we created. I'll throw myself under the bus. I think I created it, perhaps. So in any case, glad you're here. We have a good group. Some folks are in their cars or otherwise will be listening. So happy to have you here. I'm going to let Brian know you're on.
Excellent, Pat. No, thanks for having me, and yeah, great to meet the team, and thanks to Pat and Brian for initially finding us, right?
Yeah, this is informal, Campbell, so we're really a meetup. As you know, I've shared some of the history of ITKAN. SPR basically sponsors us along with Microsoft's Tech Center. I've administered it from the outset, but I have many members of the advisory team on this call. Of course, Brian is on that, and Brian manages a lot of our logistics on the calls, as well as our Eventbrite management, etc. But my thinking, Campbell, Tim Rosler, who's on this call, Tim is a former CIO of a microelectronics manufacturer. As I recall, Tim, he now directs technology services for a junior college, very active Chicago area JC. So one of his colleagues, Jeff Fisher, is on. Peter is actually a delivery person with SPR, the company I work for, a digital transformation firm. So Peter is knee deep in technology and development, and We have a sprinkling of our members who are also on the advisory team. Tim, the end of last year, we discussed as a team what would our theme be, if any, for the coming year. And we determined it would be on transformation broadly, whether technology, transformative technology, platforms or languages, etc., or transforming your career, because Campbell, as you know, we are focused on improving the career development within the tech space for candidates and professionals with disabilities. So SPR has been committed to that for years. Clearly, Microsoft is, and they've been our home port, the tech center downtown on the lakefront, for probably 12 years now, since 2010. And they're a great host. Adam Heckman is on sabbatical currently, so won't join us, but our thinking was, wouldn't it be great with all the COVID and everyone retreating for the most part to remote or hybrid work, it would be very fitting for ITKAN to have a virtual home campus that we could develop a comfort in, and perhaps experience more greater connection than just Zoom calls or team meetings. So that's some of the background. If anyone wants to add anything, Tim, of course, or Brian, anyone, feel free.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Pat. Campbell, nice to meet you. As Pat overly lauded me, my name's Tim Russler. I'm IT director now at Joliet Junior College. I've been blessed to be part of ITKAN for, I think it's now going near 10 years. I don't want to count the years, but it's been a while. I'm so appreciative to get to be part of the group, and we get to have wonderful guest speakers like yourself and get exposed to all sorts of cool things. So first and foremost, thank you for joining us. You know, as Pat mentioned, we created a theme this year of transformation, which is pretty broad, and a lot of different topics can be brought in as part of transformation. But certainly anything VR, you know, is very transformative, right? It literally is transforming worlds. And, you know, we're excited for all of us to learn what we can, you know, problem with technologies that changes tomorrow and you got to learn it again. So all of us are just trying to keep up to date and learn things. It's, you know, specific for VR, we hope that a VR space could be even improved upon the real world of being more inclusive, right? And how can it be used to enable and how can it be a way that we can extend, you know, so it's hard enough to just learn VR and get involved, and but if we can adapt VR to, you know, different ways to make it be more inclusive, I really think it could be, you know, even that much more of a game changer for us. So we'd love your thoughts about how we can just be exposed to understand and learn VR technology, how it can be used to transform, how can it expand our worlds to be more inclusive. And then finally, I'll add, I appreciate my peer, Jeff Fisher from our media group, joining. You know, I work in higher ed, and higher ed also is trying to adapt. We went from over a weekend of being mostly on campus to mostly virtual in 2019. So we're going to stay a lot more virtual, and got some hard lessons of what it's like to be in a virtual space with the pandemic. And I commend Jeff's team, my peer at JJC, of how we are adapting VR Oculus devices as a transformative learning experience. So I specifically mentioned, like, hey, this sounds pretty cool about hearing virtual campuses and what we're trying to do in our campus. So I don't want to make it just biased towards what we're trying to learn, but we're particularly keenly interested to learn that too. And we'd love to talk to you offline from a JJC perspective, but more importantly from our organization. Thank you for joining. And I think whatever you show us, we'll be very interested to learn, and would love to learn more about VR and how it can be more inclusive and how we can take advantage of it.
Awesome. Oh, excellent, Pat. And yeah, thanks for finding us alongside Brian. And yeah, great to meet you as well, Tim. And yeah, thanks for kind of setting the context, and could definitely run you through some, examples of, inclusion, and diversity in the metaverse, and, ways that our, customers are, enabling, right, new types of technologies and experiences virtually. We love on the Virbela side, we'd love to kick off with the question of, what do you know about the metaverse? If anyone wants to, jump in here.
And Pat, I know we've done often a icebreaker question. I think it'd be a great opportunity to use that question to kind of icebreak around and have everyone weigh in, on that question. Though I personally am not seeing chat, Brian, working. I don't know if it's just my client.
Yeah, Steve said he's not able to use chat. I guess none of the rest of you are able to use chat either.
No, I'm not seeing it for
No, I'm on it, Brian.
Yeah, it might only be available to members, which is kind of strange. I'm going to keep looking around, but yeah, that's, as I see it. But Steve, he dropped. He couldn't open it up.
Yeah, that's okay. I know we started a bit late, so if a few people want to kind of jump in, and love to hear your your perspective on the metaverse.
To just not to dominate, but to kick it off by example, I'll start, and hopefully others can join. I can thank my peer here who over the holidays dropped off an Oculus for us to try out at the college and exposed me to the metaverse and tested what we're doing at JJC. I have to admit, I first viewed it as, oh, this is great if I was a gamer. I don't have time to game. So really opened my eyes up, and we very much view now the metaverse as a chance to extend our campuses, bring learning opportunities, to promote. That my exposure was through work, and I think it's terrific, the opportunities that are there, and I'm excited to have our team members learn more about virtual reality and the metaverse.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
So, Campbell, I would analogize from my perspective, the metaverse to what used to be the not internet, but the
Chat rooms.
Oh no, the for God's sakes. Sorry, guys, I'm having a brain freeze. I'm going to pause and reach back. Cogent thoughts, sorry.
No worries, Pat.
I think that's spot on, Pat, right? Like we think of, the consumerization, right, of the enterprise, and, the billions of daily active users specific to gaming, right? And it may be different from, Facebook's approach, which is to sell more Oculuses, right? We're very much coming from the perspective of, how do we get as many people as possible, right, to experience, immersive technology, being able to jump into the metaverse and have these, unique social experiences within. So really our bread and butter as a company, is really, building digital experiences initiatives for desktop. We do support, by definition, VR or, head-mounted displays, but, from an enterprise deployment perspective, right, it's something that folks haven't done a lot of. It's also expensive, right? So, the opportunity to just be able to deploy, a client. So we're client server based, by installing an app, we're able to support large scale. And, Tim, you might find this interesting, but, we're really less of a VR tech company. And I say that because the two founders, they're actually, organizational psychologists, and, we got a bit of a jump on the market. We've been around for over a decade now, and, ultimately they're the two founders, the organizational psychologists, right? They believe in the value of, creating these communities of learners, right? And, maybe different from, video conference meetings, especially at scale, right? Where it tends to be, the executive kind of leading the conversation at the front of the room. It's, the ability to learn, just as much from peers, as the executive, right? And ultimately solving a lot of the challenges of, online learning and kind of passive one-sided type discussions. So, we find, or some of the feedback that we get from, many of the enterprise that we work with is that, hey, and even, early adopters like Stanford Business School and their lead or executive ed program is that, hey, being able to represent yourself as an avatar, it tends to be not only more fun, but, inclusive, right? And, there's a level of autonomy to be able to, move around and engage and, define your meeting and event experience. So that shares a little bit of context on us. And, fast forward, a couple of years, right? We're publicly traded. Our ticker is EXPI. So we're owned by a global, real estate brokerage firm, both residential and commercial, of, 80,000 plus agents, and, they do all their day-to-day operations, all their training in I should say, their virtual world with us. And, you're seeing, 10 plus years at tech here, and I think Pat, and Brian, we showed you our new campus design when we were on the call a couple of months ago, but, ultimately we just upgraded our Unity engine, so improve, graphics and less compute or less resources required, right, to be able to run, the Virbela app. I'll take a quick pause there with any questions across the team.
So what I like to do is save face with a cogent reply to your question. So what I was trying to say, Campbell, is I would analogize what has migrated or evolved out of VR, early VR, to the metaverse, to early internet connections, from the IoT to internet of everything. So whether home security, communication, or any connections. So that's what I see the metaverse as, but frankly, I am not well versed in it. That's evident. So that's all I wanted to note.
No, excellent. Thank you, Pat. And yes, spot on, right? Exactly what you said, and we look at, chat and even video conference, right? It's this next, kind of disruptive wave of, enterprise technology. And there's been lots of buzz, around the metaverse and kind of why you reached out and found us and, why we're here today. We've been listening to our, customers and looking to develop more diverse and more inclusive, right, avatars that go beyond, what you see here, and, could share a little bit on our roadmap as well. Pat, I guess what would be the best, use of time we could, kind of tour some of the different spaces and, talk through ways it might be valuable for the community. We encourage, all users to jump in here, right? It's, late evening Pacific time, so you can see it's quite quiet, right? But I'll grab the download link, and this is just what we call our open campus, and it's our demo environment, and we encourage, right, anyone to jump in and have these unique types of experiences yourself. I realize no chat functionality, so I could send it over to the team after the call.
Campbell, I see a question from Jeff.
Oh, we do have chat.
Campbell, can you just clarify? You mentioned the campus, so we're looking at yours, and then your note earlier said that you've now, over the course of 10 years, created 50 plus campuses. Are those virtual campuses based on the design of the actual campus, or they're just virtual campuses based on a general concept? Oh, I'd love to have, a big open picnic area as part of the place for us to meet as part of my campus.
Yeah, so great question, Jeff. And so Virbela, we're, in the business of spinning up businesses and communities, right, rather quickly. So they're all out of the box. And, exactly what you see here today is, the campuses that we deploy to, large enterprises like, the Deloittes and the PwCs and, the DXC Technologies, right, are some of our clients. But, there's opportunity to use our campus, right, to roll out, your own meetings, your own engagements. You could actually, you're encouraged and welcome to use, any of the spaces in our open, public campus environment. And I guess, Jeffrey, are you kind of coming from the perspective of like customization and the capabilities from like a Unity, custom design side of the house, and, what's the art of the possible?
Yes, for sure. Part of what is possible, but also I guess there's what are people looking for, right? Like you can have a physical campus that you can go to. So do you want your virtual campus to match it? Is that a goal? Or if you're going to create a virtual campus, do you make it, you want statues and waterfalls and something that is not, I want palm trees in my virtual campus, but I live in Illinois, right? So I'm not going to have that on my actual campus. So I was just curious as far as what people are actually looking for as part of my question.
Yeah. Thanks for kind of sharing a little more color there. And, we've done everything. And, a lot of what we find in the enterprise is that, they want to create something very unique and compelling, that represents their brand and culture in a unique way. So, we always deploy out of the box campuses, and, maybe a good example of this is, Stanford. They were an early adopter, and we recreated their brick and mortar campus, right? It took a lot of, custom design and, Unity resources to, roll it out. But, everything from the Hoover Tower and the iconic red brick and, a lot of the same statues and artwork that you would see on their physical campus lives in their Virbela campus. So it's quite cool. It's quite compelling. And, what they were looking to solve for is like, specific to their, executive ed course called LEAD, which runs out of the GSB. And it's like, hey, we have a global audience. we want people to have, you know, a lot of the same, you know, social connections and look and feels that you would as they would on, you know, our Stanford's campus. You know, how could we recreate that and, you know, bring a lot of those same elements without having to jump on a plane, right? And that kind of is a nice segue into, you know, a lot of what we're solving for is like, hey, you know, we have in person on one side, and I'm stealing this from PwC. This is what they say, but you know, they have in person on one side, which is, you know, obviously the best possible experience, but it's, you know, both timely and expensive, right? To fly teams, fly executives, you know, both flights, but also accommodations and, you know, venues and services, and yeah, the list goes on. And, you know, we have on the other end, right, it's video conference. And, you know, a lot of the feedback that we get from our, you know, enterprise clients is that, hey, you know, another webinar, you know, 500 plus users, it's pretty boring, right? It's pretty low engagement. It's, you know, webcam off, mic off, and kind of kick your feet up, right? And listen to whoever's leading the conversation. Maybe it's the executive, right? And so, and what's in the middle is right is Virbela, and like how could we, you know, solve a lot of the challenges of, you know, getting people to actually deeply connect and socialize with one another, you know, of course, at a distance, right? And so solving for those, you know, silos across teams. And I know, you know, we jumped into the conference hall earlier, but I'll jump back in. But one of the fun exercises that we like to do and encourage in our workshops, you know, both internal and external, is these, you know, private volume circles for those on my screen, to where we could have, right, private audio channels. And we typically turn these on at the start of our sessions, you know, allowing people to, you know, connect, right, in a more inclusive way versus, you know, a single, right, audio channel.
And you're in the same room, but all like the people around one table in that room, and you can just hear the people at your table, but you're in a room together. Is that kind of what that is?
Simulating, yeah, spot on, right? And then, you know, again, kind of recreating a lot of those same, you know, elements that you would have in a, you know, physical, you know, brick and mortar setting. And, you know, pulling up a slide, you know, from the GSB and a lot of their ROI, right, of their campus community. And, you know, something that specifically stands out to me when I kind of walk you through some of the functionality is, right, leveraging the effects of physical environments. And, you know, a lot of the basis and, right, the thesis that our organizational psychologists kind of built Virbela on. Is that helpful?
This is Jeff. Yeah, I would say, yeah, that's very cool. In fact, I like that idea of that circle, and I get the concept of being in the big room, but you know, I'll even say your comment, which was, you know, the best option is for everyone to be together, which Tim and I were just having a conversation about this earlier. I don't know that I would agree that necessarily is, because there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of audio distractions and visual distractions that actually sometimes being in that big room leads to less productivity and is more problematic. So I think the idea that, and even to my earlier point, right, which is, you know, maybe I want to have palm trees on my fake JJ or my virtual JJC campus, but then if they become a distraction as part of it, I like the idea of being able to go into that circle and, you know, and even black out your view or block out your audio as you are doing.
No waterfalls, it's too distracting.
Right. I'm not paying attention to you because I'm in Hawaii right now while I'm virtually watching this waterfall, totally daydreaming.
Right.
I love
Campbell,
it. Yeah,
may I ask a question?
Of course.
You're saying, I just on language, when you say out of the box, I typically think out of the box means you can plug and play pretty much. But I think you're speaking out of the box, meaning purely customized, or is it more templated and able to be customized to spec?
Yeah, and maybe to your point there. So we think of out of the box, right, as the opportunity to have like quick configurations or designs.
Right.
And, I
right.
mentioned that
That makes sense to me.
And there's lots of out of the box, right, configurations that we've built in. We've really thought through, a lot of our customer requirements and how they understand how they use the product, right? So everything from a hard mute, but also being able to represent the brand and the culture in a unique way. And I could jump to our main office environment here, right? And it's so there's all sorts of opportunities just for right clicks and to add file uploads, and it's quite fun, right? I could have a capture with my colleagues in my office, and being able to represent some of the clients that I work with, as well as my office title. So lots of opportunities there.
Got it. So for example, I think several of us on the call from ITKAN, it would be nice for us to have a campus that,
Campbell,
as we discussed with you, Campbell, was completely physically accessible. And maybe, as Jeff noted, palm trees in Illinois, our campus might have access to something fun which people with disabilities don't
hi Brian, did you need
generally
any help? Can I help you with anything?
don't generally experience. So that might be our version of a palm tree. Like, I don't know what it would be. Maybe hang gliding or snorkeling or scuba access, something. People with disabilities do these things, but not in the numbers that the general population does. So perhaps at a conference, you had an opportunity to do something fun that you wouldn't necessarily do in real life. And I thought Jeff's point on the large conference room and the distractions in a environment with a lot of conversations going on around you, that's a great support for your, what I'll call the circle of trust, which was an old concept, I think, or the cone of trust on Maxwell Smart, where you can only hear those at your table, which would compel, I think, more focus. And maybe, to Jeff's point, rather than less productivity, perhaps more productivity if tables were working on a group, like a moderated session where they had given a task every table has a task, like a civic hack, for example, where you're always working by table and you're working in a lot of din. That might be helpful to close out the conversations around you and achieve more focus and maybe better ideating during that. Anyway, just my reaction.
Pat, thank you. Great point. You know, to build on that, Campbell, I love the idea for us in ITKAN to work towards, you know, maybe at some point we actually have a meeting like this monthly be, you know, in your space. And I think it would be, like you said, kind of away from the norm. We've all had Zoom and team calls and are kind of, you know, getting a little tired of that. And I think one, it would just be so different, but also, you know, for all of us, you know, in ITKAN, an opportunity like this to learn this technology, even as a casual user being exposed to us, makes us all more employable. You know, if we're looking what we're trying to do at JJC and as great experience as Jeff's team has, he's learning this too. And if we're looking to hire someone, even if they have the basics of, hey, I've been in a virtual space, I've gone and joined these meetings where we've used Virbela, it gives them something on the resume that makes them more unique and exposed to it. And it was fun to do in the process. So we really appreciate your engagement with our group. If we could work towards our own selves playing around with it, that play is actually productive for work too. And we love the idea of learning how we could use this in our own group to then sharpen our own skills to bring forward towards employers.
Yeah, beautiful and brilliant. And, you know, obviously thank you all for your, you know, important work in this space. And yeah, we'd be thrilled if you know, wanted to host a few or a number of different engagements and whatever, you know, whether it's short term or long term, no, it'd be brilliant. And, you know, what we could do is just get you and the team set up with a space that looks identical to this. And, you know, as I did quickly, right, I could put up, you know, some logos and branding, and it's quite fun, right? Being able to recreate a lot of the same elements as out of a physical, you know, brick and mortar setting. And kind of the Pat's point, right, is that, hey, we could have, you know, that we could recreate this Obey room, if you will, and, you know, have sticky notes that could be placed on the walls. So, you know, you could take a lot of those same, you know, in-person elements, right, that were maybe difficult to do over Zoom and, you know, recreate them in Virbela.
And we can help brainstorm, Pat, like as we break up into sections so we can practice the smaller circles, right? To your analogy of a hack, what would be the topics we could give to the ITKAN group that would be helpful hacks, and get together and make it be not just a theoretical, but really use the spaces intended to come up with some topics we can engage in and help hack something, as well as also learn the technology. I think we can certainly brainstorm that part and love the help to kind of enable that. But I think it's just such a win-win of, you know, collaborating, but also learning new collaboration tools in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And we find, you know, everyone's receptive, right? It's, you know, new types of, you know, experiences. It's something that a lot of people haven't, you know, experienced. So we love your feedback in the process, and we're excited to roll out. Yeah, timing's fantastic. This has been, I don't know, 2 months plus of development time and resources, right? Developing this new avatar system. So we rolled out our Campus 2.0 design, and we're gonna have more, you know, diverse and, you know, many more avatar permutations, right? And ultimately, the ability to represent yourself, you know, as an avatar in the metaverse.
So I have a question, Campbell. I know I kind of shared some of my critique, my Monday morning QBing of these avatars. So I'm very interested in, first of all, a compliment. I feel the power chair, the kind of generic power chair in the middle, is very representative. Kind of because I know you, Virbela can't be all things to all people, of course. You have to have very generic uh, permutations of whether people or, pardon me, avatars representing people, or avatars or a and a accoutrement, which would, in our case, might be a wheelchair of some nature or a scooter, perhaps. But I did wonder, in my mind, I played as a younger guy, I played a lot of wheelchair sports, tennis, basketball, rock climbed, etc. But this is clearly set up as a court chair, the one on the left as we're looking. It's got a lot of camber, as well as almost a guard on the front, almost looks like a quad rugby player gave you your input.
Our our art team, our designers, they're quite creative, right? And we'd love to be able to move quicker on these types of initiatives. It's our development team's growing quite rapidly. But no, thanks for the feedback, and exactly right. You'll be able to immerse yourself and play all these games, like whether it's soccer or even basketball. And you're right, that'll be the chair to do it.
Yeah, so I might suggest that if your design team can create at least one additional chair, it might be more like a standard ultralight chair with less camber in the wheels, and probably more of a traditional front end foot plate. But because I think that would be more likely, along with this traditional power chair, to be used at either professional meetings, conferences, etc., versus a court chair. But regardless, I laud you for thinking in this direction. And I know Nisarg already tried to add a chair to his avatar, and I said I didn't think these were yet live. Is that the case?
Yeah, we'll be pushing the new, hopefully patching the campus in the next couple of months. Yeah, pushing out this new features, new functionality. So likely Q3 is our target.
That's great. And I expect, and you may have covered this, Campbell, so pardon if you did. But I expect along with that will be a fully ramped campus.
Yeah, so actually in the fully ramped campus, some of the captures that you're seeing here. And that's been live actually for a couple weeks in our open campus, and we'll be pushing out those updates to our our customer campuses pretty quickly here as well. The open campus serves as our test ground. It's also an opportunity, right, to get feedback from our wider and larger user base.
Great. Thanks, Campbell. And Tim, as I recall, and pardon me, guys, I don't mean to dominate, just I thought, Tim, your thinking on a civic hack was that maybe we could assist Virbela in some sense with addressing some challenges that our community might be suited to have insights on during the hack. Was that what you were suggesting?
Yes, absolutely. Something like that could allow our members to participate, on the topic, both on the hack as well as practice the technology.
I love that thought, and I fully support that as well, Campbell. I expect we could get strong participation for that, and maybe someone from Virbela, like perhaps you or Mark or whomever, might participate in that as a moderator, kind of facilitator of the hack. And I think that would be a very fun project for us.
Yeah.
What do you think, guys? Anyone else? Nisarg?
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun doing this. Yeah, definitely. You can count me in on that.
Great, Nisarg.
Yeah, we love to work, collaboratively, and continue to get your keen feedback, and throughout the process. I appreciative of you all for having me. I gotta go wrap up my day with my manager, and I'm a few minutes late, and I'll let an opportunity if Brian wants to take over the screen share, and you could continue to debrief the experience across the team. And again, thank you all for your important work. I'm appreciative.
Oh,
well, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, honor to be included. So thanks for your interest in the Metaverse.
Campbell. Yeah, sorry, I'm talking over Tim. I don't mean to. But great to engage Virbela, and we'll reach back. Campbell, we'll invite you into our ITKAN Teams discussion. That might make sense, and you can just reply as you have the opportunity, of course, but that way we can keep this conversation going, if that is acceptable.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. That'd be great. And yeah, thanks to Brian as well for supporting and helping find us. And yeah, nice to meet you, Tim and team. And we'll all be in touch. I look forward to your additional feedback. And yeah, please encourage you all to jump in and find me in campus. Myself alongside the Virbela team, we're here 12 hours a day, so you could always find us, and there's that, you know, rich sense of contacts, right? And that serendipity, as you know, we found today with Brian, me being on another call, and you know, Brian finding my colleague. So no, pleasure, and yeah, really nice to meet you all, and total honor and treat this afternoon, and thank you.
Thanks, Campbell.
Thank you.
Brian is a very
Thank you.
creative guy, and
Yeah.
he's very pensive.
Sure is. All right, thanks all. Bye now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I think that was a great conversation. Brian, thank you for having the forethought to get on the virtual campus and track someone down. You got it done, Gumshoe. I should
Yeah, what a great story for virtual world, right? I love that, where a real life scenario where we're trying to find someone, and as opposed to getting the person by calling, you go into a virtual world to find them for a meeting. I think that alone was a good story worth sharing in future meetings, and so indicative of our modern world, that, you know, as opposed to calling someone, going into a virtual world and finding them. I love that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Who was the old private detective in the movies? In the Big Sleep, Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart, yeah. What was the character's name?
What was the character's name?
Yeah.
My
I can't
mind
remember either.
isn't working well tonight. Anyway, I'll figure it out. And Brian is that he's our gumshoe.
He is our virtual gumshoe. I love that. You know, Pat, one last thought. You know, I remember back when we were developing ITKAN and we had members, you know, engaged in the website, building the website, which helped them build their skills, right? And gave them things for the resume, but also was helpful for the ITKAN group, and got experience with WordPress. And, you know, I will say, as an employer, and I think Jeff can attest also, if we see someone we're looking to hire and they've worked on that skill set and they've done that in supporting of a nonprofit, that not only speaks to their ability to use that skill set, but also their character of being involved in a nonprofit. And I love the idea of, whether it's our team site or now our new virtual world, that this is a great chance for our members to help us learn and build it, and help it be productive for our group, but also get great things on the resume. And believe me, there aren't many people right now that have this on their resume, and it would be really, you know, exciting to have it. But also, I think it would just be so much fun for us to take advantage of this in our ITKAN community.
I concur totally, Tim. And Jerice added a lot of the content for many months to the ITKAN site. And in the early version, when we were, what was our early platform, Brian?
I think we were still using WordPress.
Well, I know before WordPress, Steve worked on a very early version in another platform. Anyway,
That was before my time.
Yeah, it was before your time, Brian. You're right. And by the way, Philip Marlowe was the
Good job.
No.
My mind's not going completely, just slow sometimes. All right, well, Tim, anyway, great thoughts. You're absolutely right about engaging in a VR campus to both learn the functionality, characteristics, design principles, etc., along with doing functional work, whether for Virbela or us, ITKAN, we can use it to work on our strategies. And then, of course, to your point, our members can add that to their resumes and be more marketable, thus completing our circle of higher employment and career dev. So I love all of that. Anyone else? I'll shut up and let Brian close out unless anyone else has thoughts.
I think I just put WordPress on my resume because I'm trying to get that fixed. But that I think a lot of the skills that I learned tonight from the meeting will help a little bit in my resume. Which, matter of fact, I'm having a meeting with Adam tomorrow morning. There may be a chance I may be switching over to cybersecurity in a couple of months. So that will also help with the virtual, the VR. So it's actually going to help a lot.
That's great, Therese.
They're thinking about this all night when you guys had the meeting. So I'm very excited.
Therese, you continue to evolve as a rock star. We're always so proud of you and what you continue to add in your resume. And your work on WordPress left a legacy behind for our group, and we love to see you continuing growing and adding more to it. So thank you.
Of course.
I'm looking forward to Therese of you and I collaborating in Virbela.
From Virbela.
Yeah, we need to virtually collaborate on there and get to see each other in a meeting soon. I think it would be fun to join the virtual site and get a chance to catch up.
Okay. You guys tell me what your schedule looks like, because my schedule's always been open.
All right, sounds good.
My mother says hello to all of you. And Tim, my mother says to you, Tim, she's like, I was wondering if she can come back to the team that you and her built. I think it was another guy.
I would love to get together. Please absolutely tell her and send her hello and tell her my Beth would love to see her again. So
I can definitely do that. And I'm still supporting and Nisar on their soon to be internships. I'm still supporting them for that as well.
Nisar, did you have a comment?
No.
Oh.
Right, no.
No worries. Okay. Okay,
I'm-
guys, I know this is disjointed when some of us are showing our video, others not. So I think we should close this out. I'll invite Campbell to our Teams meeting, or thanks for joining us, Jeff. And we'll continue the conversation. As Campbell suggested, we can all do what Brian did, download the app and create our avatar and join the virtual campus at any time to engage him or others, and begin to learn the environment and getting around its functionality, etc. So I'd encourage that, and we'll move forward from there. And great to see everyone, and have a great Friday and weekend.
You too.
You too.
Thank you all. Yes, thank you for welcoming me into your meetings. I appreciate it. It's great opportunities, and it's great to learn with you. So thank you. Have a great weekend.
Well, thanks, Jeff, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Have a great weekend, all. Great stuff. Very exciting.
Yeah, it is. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, bye all.